Right, I've got another video to share. So this one was on the 7th of March 2025, and I'll title this one called The Concert of Deception. Okay, so how this starts, well actually no, I won't do it quite in the order of how it starts, but how it kind of best makes sense to describe it, I think. So how I'll start it then is there was a music artist, and she was singing all kind of gospel kind of style music. You know, she had that kind of voice, and she was including words like Lord and stuff like that. So very Christian sort of tones to it. And so I was kind of drawn in by the style, I suppose, of that kind of music and what was being said. But then she paused very briefly after she'd said, you know, part of this song, and then she just puffed out this big cloud of smoke, which was really odd. The crowd went absolutely wild at her doing this. It was like they were celebrating her act, and it felt like an act of defiance. It was really strange the way this smoke came out, so random during this performance. But the woman was basically, yes. So she was a sort of African sort of black woman, but she had very short hair. It was all dyed white and was kind of sort of pasted sort of down a little bit in the style that she had. But the music was starting to change. So as I said, it started off very gospel, and then it changed and kind of morphed into this kind of slightly dodgy, more R&B kind of style, and it felt like it was I couldn't work out whether it was all an act, really, you know, that she was really more of an R&B artist that was kind of putting a little bit of gospel stuff, or whether it was the opposite way around, that she was mainly gospel and that she was putting in a bit of R&B. But she was clearly looking to be part of the world. You know, she was, I mean, the show, again, I'll go into it in a minute, but she was on a show, so she was clearly part of the world in the way she was going through, but she just didn't feel very genuine. So the other part to the dream, because I said I'm sort of seeing her on stage singing and all of that kind of stuff. But there was a part that was just before it. So with this part, it was all set as a TV show. So if you imagine it, it's like a big studio audience, but this was really big. You know, this was almost like an arena kind of thing, where you've got loads and loads and loads of rows of people, but multiple exits to it, and a stage, and obviously people are acting out the actual TV show. But it was more like again, one that we have in the UK is called Saturday Night Takeaway, and that's all just kind of mucking about sort of stuff. You have loads of celebrities come on, loads of normal people from the public, loads of interactions, both on stage, at people's homes, at different venues. It's just a massive, you know, loads and loads of different things all going on at the same time. But it's a kind of a good sort of muck about kind of interactive TV sort of show, and that's what this was like. This was very much like that type of style. And the host, I was kind of seeing it, I think, as watching it on TV. I was seeing it more from a little bit of a distance, or I think, in that I was watching it on TV, but I wasn't sitting down watching it. It was like it was going on. I was doing other bits and pieces, but I was kind of hearing it, and then every now and then peering and having a little look as to what was going on. But what happened when the people on the stage, they were doing things, what they were doing at the point that I was watching, was they were calling out people that were actually in the audience. But these were all kind of like celebrities that were just dotted in amongst all this audience. And when the host of the show called them out, they all, you know, these three of them stood up in different places in the audience, and they were kind of given the instruction of, right, you know, look, you go out back, you guys get yourself prepared, you know, we'll call on you a little bit later as part of the show. And they were going to perform, I imagine, together. But again, they were calling these three out, and blah 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 blah. Where was it? Yeah. As I said, it was like, you guys go get ready. As I said, I was watching from outside, so I was actually watching from outside the door, looking into our bedroom, watching it. But I'd previously been in my youngest daughter Sophie's room. She wanted to play some sort of word game. It was some sort of a word game, where you were putting, I don't think you're putting down tiles with letters on like a Scrabble. It was something different, but it was some sort of a word search thing. There was just all these loads of letters that are all just thrown out all on the ground, and we were trying to work stuff out. But that just happened to be in the background. The only reason I mention that is because I've had God try and communicate things through word games before. I've had that in a previous one where it was more actually like on an arcade machine. That's one where it was coming up with words, and it was one where you have, you know, like space 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 A space space B, you know, and then the next word and then spaces and stuff like that, and you were having to work out what it was, and it'd give you a clue. And that in that particular dream, they're all biblical kind of things, and I was like, oh yeah, it's that. Oh yeah, yeah, obviously it's that. It was like three letter word sometimes, and it's like, well, obviously it's that. You know, it's God. It's got nothing, O, and then space, and it's talking about, you know, deity, or it was something like that. You know, it was so obvious. And in this dream, everybody was just looking at it, just thinking, I can't get this. I can't get this. And I was looking at them thinking, are you serious? Like, these are so basic. I mean, the lesson in that, I think, was don't take anything for granted when it comes to Christianity and stuff like that, that people understand things. When it looks obvious to you, it doesn't mean it's obvious to other people. And to help people through it. That was kind of part of the message of what was a massive dream. Anyway, so oh, and when it came to those three that are on stage, I noticed that one of them was that black woman who was had her hair like that, and she stuck out. She would stand out on the stage because of her white hair and everything. So I knew that she was one of them. So that other part of the dream kind of made a little bit of sense to me. Yeah. So the third part of the show. So as I said, I sort of put these into little parts, but was where this same game show was then. Right, okay, let's move on to another part of the show. So we've got some people on stage here, and basically there was 5 people that were taking part in this kind of like a challenge where they were having to hold snakes. It's a bit random. They're all varying in size. So some people just had little small snakes to hold on to. Other people had like quite big or normal sort of size snakes. Some quite big snakes that they had to hold on to. And it was a mixture. So you had some celebrities, you know, on there, members of the public that they'd just drawn off of the stage, and then you had one that was actually being shown on screen that was a person at their house. So they basically just had people as part of the show had been going out down the street knocking on people's doors. Somebody answered the door and they said, look, you know, do you want to be part of our TV show? You're going to be live on TV. And she'd said yes. So these people are on stages. You could see the people. I mean, they're obviously they're holding it, and they're visibly scared, but they're all coping in different ways. So some of them are like kind of like you know, like really nervous laughter, trying to cope with the fact they've got a snake in their hands. There was another guy who just wasn't handling it well at all, and he was super anxious. You know, you could tell that he was in a mess. And this snake, it could like smell his fear. So as he was trying to move his hands out of the way and just maybe hold in a certain way, it was going up wrapping around his arm and stuff, and looking at his face, and he was kind of like really backing off, but he wasn't coping with it very well at all. Other people seemed to be like they got it sorted, but this particular snake was smelling his fear. I wrote down it was almost like a wasp, you know, where you've maybe got something on your body that you know, kind of sweet, or like you're holding an ice cream or something like that, and then the wasp gets a whiff of it and is all over it. Or you're wearing like yellow or something like that where it thinks it's a flower, and oh yeah, I'm just like this, you know, 6-foot flower, you know, that's wandering around. You know, that's is that not unusual to you as a wasp? You know, just yeah. So and as soon as you react to it, don't you, with a wasp, then it's all over you. It's like, oh, it's now a moving 6-foot flower running around. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that kind of thing. So that's what it reminded me of, because I absolutely hate wasps. If you can't tell, absolutely hate them. So then it, as I said, they're all kind of okay with it, but this one on the TV screen, who's just a member of the public who's on the TV, she was super confident, really, really confident. So she just grabbed this snake, just grabbed it like it was nothing, you know, that she was just picking up nothing really. And she decided to take it. She was in a nightgown as well, because this is an evening show. It's typically around like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock sort of time, I think, something like that. The Saturday night takeaway I'm talking about, as in the UK program. This is very much modelled on that same sort of format, so it's more of an evening thing. So this was like this. So she was in a nightgown, and she'd been kind of, as I said, not woken up or anything, but was part of the show. So she picks up the snake, and she instinctively, she knows where she's going with it. So she wanders off to the corner of the room where there's a lamp, and she takes this snake right to the lamp, puts it right by the lamp where the light's on it, and this snake goes from being quite wide awake to just like, just all power taken away. It was just like went super, super docile. So what I made of that was obviously the singer was, whether she was Christian artist or not, she certainly wanted to fit in with culture. And obviously I wasn't too impressed with obviously the way that she was becoming part of the world rather than sticking to her roots, because I had a feeling that she was more rooted in Christianity, but she was just giving it up to make money. With this particular person, the fact that she had, stuff coming out of her mouth, this smoke, it reminded me of a testimony I saw of a rapper. You may have actually seen it. I've heard of other people covering it off on different videos, but it was one where this artist was actually a US rapper. I don't know if he was particularly famous, but he was talking about how he was on stage, and he was rapping and stuff, and God showed him the effect of his words on the audience, and as he was saying certain words, like spirits or demonic spirits were coming out of his mouth in kind of like a cloud like spirit thing, and they would go off, and they were kind of almost like people. I seem to remember it was like he said that they were like breathing. People were kind of like breathing them in, and it was affecting the crowd. So all the guys then started getting really violent, and there was actually a shooting. I think he described in this testimony. All the women were getting super promiscuous. They were all over the men and each other and stuff like that. And God showed him through that was how as I said, his words have effect, and they can massively negatively affect people, and that they were releasing demons upon people. And so he was one who then, I think it was through this actually ended up coming to Christ, and I don't think he was beforehand. But this felt very, very similar with the smoke coming out of her mouth. It was, each puff of smoke was like an act of defiance, and everybody was like, yeah, as part of this defiant act that she was doing. The winner of that snake show thing, what I got from it was that the snake, representing Satan in this scenario, was overpowered by the light, which again representing God. I got the feeling that was the message, but I wasn't 100% sure, because it kind of felt like she was taking it more to the light for heat to make it this snake docile. So I may be reading into things more than they actually are. Now, this particular night, I had a ridiculous amount of dreams, really, really, really vivid dreams. As I said, I've got my dream journal in front of me, but I could have reeled more or less all of that off, and the follow-up dreams as well. So the next part to this I'll do in a separate video, but it was this one's called Walking with Jesus. Okay, so that's what the title will be called in the next one. That's really, really interesting. And then that went into like almost like an awake Holy Spirit message that came out, and then finally it then went into a sort of flash image of a demon that then came through, and actually was almost like basically it was like a prophecy really, that then came out later that day, that evening. But again, I'll describe that as I've got pages more of stuff and what the context was around that. Okay, but that's it for this one. As I said, the next one should be entitled Walking with Jesus. If it isn't, just look for the one that is, and then that will continue where this dream finished. Okay, hopefully that was helpful or interesting. Maybe not helpful, interesting. All right, see you soon.